Welcome to Greenable Woodbridge. I'm your host, Carolyn Ehrlich. Now, a little over a year ago, we had Chris Abrupta here to introduce the town to rain gardens. And since then, we have been building and building and building rain gardens, and I thought it was a good opportunity to catch up. So we have Chris Abrupta here and Holly DeMiro. Did I get that right? Yes. And they're going to tell you, first of all, a little bit about they work for Rutgers, but the group they work with is like 5 words, which I can't possibly remember. So they'll tell you all about it. And here, you know what? You can use mine.
Okay, so we're with the Rutgers Cooperative Extension Service, okay, and we run the we run the Water Resources Program.
Okay.
Wow. So that's our thing, and we go all over the state and work with towns to try to help them solve their flooding problems and their water quality problems. And we've got a great partner here in Woodbridge, so it's been really nice to be here. We've been building rain gardens in the town here for a few years with your public works guys. Great guys, really dedicated. We have them at most of the libraries now, and if we don't, by the end of next year, we'll certainly have all the libraries done in Woodbridge. There's 5 libraries in Woodbridge. We're at the Island branch of the Woodbridge library system here, and this is one of our favorite gardens. It's really very nice the way the water kind of comes in and flows through all the vegetation, gets treated. It's just perfect. A perfect example of what can be done. So
I think what we should do is a tour of the rain garden. So start at the top where the water starts?
Let's start there.
Okay. Okay, before we start the rain garden tour, I think it might be important to talk a little bit about, you did all this work, and it's not just about planting plants. There's a purpose behind it. And green infrastructure, stormwater management, it's called all of these things. And why do we need it?
Let me take that off.
Oh, okay.
So most of the waterways in New Jersey aren't meeting water quality standards. Okay, so a lot of them are polluted. And a lot of it's from runoff from just developed areas, okay? And a lot of the development in New Jersey that has occurred over time was built before we had any stormwater management in place at all. So Woodbridge is an old community. So one of the goals is to fix some of the water quality in the surrounding streams, the Woodbridge Creek, for example, and also to reduce the flooding is to go back into places and retrofit it with stormwater management. So that's what rain gardens are perfect for, because you can incorporate it to any landscape. This garden is great. It's got 3 cells here. It's taking the roof runoff from the building. It'll take the first 3 to 4 inches of rain from the rooftop. And when we get a big storm, we usually get 1 or 2 inches of rain. So it's going to absorb most of it from this building. And it's not going to contribute to flooding at all. So it's a great system, and we like it because it has a lot of plants and it can be beautiful. Also provides pollinator habitat. Apparently there's a bee problem in this country. And if we don't have bees to pollinate our food, then we don't have food, and we don't have food, we don't have people. So we really need to keep the bee population healthy. So this helps with that. So that's kind of why we're doing these things. And our goal is that, this is at the public library, but every homeowner across Woodbridge could have one of these in their front yard. People are always trying to talk about, they want to do something nice for the environment, and they want to do their share, and people recycle and things like that. Well, part of their share is controlling the stormwater runoff from their house, right? Because they have a rooftop, they have a driveway. So they could simply cut their downspout and run it into a garden just like this. It would be beautiful landscaping, it would help the planet, and it would help Woodbridge. So.
And is there something at Rutgers that can help people learn how to do that?
Well, we run programs all the time. Actually, I'm doing one tonight on how to build a rain garden. So we're doing these programs all the time. Most of the stuff is virtual now because of COVID. So when we used to go into the library and have 20 or 30 people there, now I'm doing it online, and there's 200 people online learning. We have tools on our website. We have a rain garden manual. There's actually a rain garden app that we have made for New Jersey. So there's a lot of ways homeowners can do this stuff. It's pretty simple. Basically, you're digging a shallow depression in your front yard and you're planting it and you're diverting water to it. It could not be any easier. It's perfect for this whole pandemic because people want to get outside. They're tired of being sitting at their kitchen table looking at their laptop computer, communicating to the world. And every garden center in New Jersey is open. If you're scared about going there, you could always call ahead and they'll get curbside delivery and they'll put plants right in your car. So it's a great time to do this stuff, especially now. The weather's getting cooler. Every nursery, every garden center across the state has 30% off their plants for the most part. So we'll be building rain gardens up to probably the end of November this year, throughout the state.
And I know you're going to point out the different types of plants and everything we have here, but what are some of the key things that you look for as you do the plant selection? I don't think a rose bush would work here.
No, I mean, we're looking for... So what happens is these systems fill up with 6 inches of water, and within about 12 hours that water drains. So most plants can handle that inundation. So we're looking for native plants. So stuff that we don't have to fertilize or is going to take special care in this area. So there's a lot of Japanese red maples and things like that we try not to use. We try to use everything native from local Jersey. We like using things that flower because they look pretty, right? A lot of stuff we tend to plant little plants because they're very inexpensive and they get big really fast. So a lot of times we have to go into these gardens and thin them out and take plants from one garden and we can build another garden with it. So it's really, really nice.
And that's the role that DPW plays.
Yeah, well, DPW has been playing a great role here. I mean, they've been helping us maintain these. We actually had the New Jersey Tree Foundation came out this year and helped us do some weeding and taking care of these. And you're weeding a couple times a year. It's really not a big deal. But sometimes the plants start getting bigger, like you start having trees like this that maybe you have to trim back a little bit, or shrubs that you may have to maintain a little bit more. So it's all kind of the preference of the property owner. What do you want it to look like, and how much care you put into it, so and that's been what's been very exciting about it, because we've built gardens with people. We've come back 2 years later and they've expanded it and incorporated another downspout, and their driveway's flowing into it now. So and they've added all these new plants. So it's been really exciting to see how people kind of taken ownership of it, and not just people but the towns too. We've got one at the municipal building, which is a beautiful garden.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And so, so there's a lot of gardens throughout Woodbridge that people can go see. And every time they see the sign, they try to understand, what is a rain garden? How can I get one? And that's why we're here at Rutgers, to try to help people do that. So
it's a great function that you do. It really, really is. And, DEP now is thankfully making stricter and stronger stormwater management rules in new construction, both residential and commercial, which is really, really good. So we need to be able to help our developers learn the rules, and that's one of the things that I'm going to be working on to make sure that we get it right.
Yeah, I mean, what happened about 15 years ago when we started building rain gardens in New Jersey, no one really knew what they were, and a lot of people were skeptical. It's come to the point where it's gained such great acceptance that New Jersey DEP has incorporated it into their stormwater regulations. So now all new development have to have systems like this to manage their stormwater. And where's that developer going to see a system like this? They can come to Woodbridge and say, "Oh, that's what it looks like."
That's what you want us to do. That's not so hard.
Yeah,
that's not so
exactly.
bad.
And it's a lot easier when they see it,
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of years.
Yep, exactly. So let's talk about some of these plants and how the water flows and how this whole thing works.
So for this garden, actually, the water comes off of the roof and goes into the center cell. And if the center cell, once it fills up to a certain point, it will overflow to this first cell, and it will also flow down to the second cell down below. Right now we have a bunch of different plants and stuff in here. We have irises, we have cardinal flower, we have coneflower over here, we have rosebud.
Let's take a walk
Redbud,
and see some
yeah.
of it.
Okay, so this is one of my favorite trees. It's called the Redbud, and in the spring, it's the first tree to actually have flowers on. The flowers come out, it's a beautiful pink flower before the leaves come out. And it looks really gorgeous, and it kind of sets off the beginning of the spring. Holly, you want to tell them about some more plants?
Yeah, sure. So we have coneflower actually right here, which like it drier, so that's why that's up on the berm. Our more wet tolerant plants, which is the iris, which is here, the juncus, which is like a soft rush, and then we also have the milkweed here. We have ferns down here on the base, and then we also have a butterfly bush, which attracts a lot of the natural pollinators and butterflies in the area. So if we go down to the next cell, we'll see some more plants. So we have a river birch in here, and this garden actually is a lot shadier than the other gardens, so we have a lot more ferns in this one. So now we're going to talk about how the water gets from one cell to the other cell.
So I just want to start with an observation that I have made. It's a rain garden, so you would think that you would be seeing water coming through here, but it's very, very dry. So I guess we haven't had much rain, or you've managed to get the water to go where it's supposed to go. But how does dryness affect all these plants?
Well, first of all, the rain garden is meant to capture the water and hold it and let it slowly seep into the ground and put it back into the aquifer. Okay, so that's where the water's going. Okay, and the plants are native to the area, so they're used to New Jersey where it rains and then we have 3 weeks of dry weather and it rains again. So that's why we use native plants, because they're accustomed to that. So even though the blue flag iris is a more of a wetland plant, it has been adapted for New Jersey to be able to handle those dry conditions, you know. So, and you can see as we're moving water from one location to another, we tend to use a lot of these rock because you want to slow the water down so we don't cause any erosion. Because the worst thing that could happen would be that the water comes rushing through, digs up all the sediment, washes away our plants, so the rock absorbs that energy, slows down the water, and they actually look really nice too.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I thought that's why they were there, but they function.
Yes,
they
it's
have
really,
a role.
really good, really good.
Very good. Oh my goodness. And I see a pipe over here and over there.
Yeah, so the pipe is connecting the two cells, so when this fills up with water, it'll overflow and go into this cell, and then it'll fill this one up too. So it allows us to maybe have a little bit of wetter plants in here and a little bit drier plants in here, because this will get a little bit less water than this, because this will absorb a lot of the first amount of water that comes in. So really, really nice, yeah.
So I've noticed with the rain gardens that we have in town, they always seem to be near a street or near a parking lot. Is there a reason for that?
Well, I mean, in a lot of cases, we'd love to get water from the street into the garden, right? Because that water in the street goes right into the catch basin, right into the stream, and then during the storm event, that stream rises up very quickly, and that's what floods out our roads. So if we can capture that water in the rain garden, hold it so as to get to the stream, we can prevent that flooding, right? The same thing with the rooftop. A lot of times these roofs are piped right to the road, goes to the catch basin, goes to the stream. So this rooftop is directly connected to the stream. Every drop of water that hits the roof winds up in the river. So by putting the rain garden in, we're intercepting that, we're breaking up that, we're disconnecting that rooftop and holding the water here on site and letting it seep into the ground. So it becomes a great way. Yeah, it's really.
It really is.
Well, we didn't create it. Nature created it.
Yes,
we're just mimicking nature. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, I have another question, which I surprisingly get asked very often. So we tell our residents, watch out for standing water because we don't want to breed mosquitoes. It might get butterflies and bees, but you don't get mosquitoes. Why is that?
No, there's no mosquitoes in a rain garden. It takes about 72 hours for standing water for mosquitoes to breed. And these gardens are designed to drain within 24 hours. So there's no standing water after 24 hours. You come out here during a storm, you'll see this might be filled up to the top, but you come back the next day and it's all into the soil. And that way there's no possibility of mosquitoes breeding. So, and that's really important. We don't want that to happen, because once you start mosquitoes breeding, people start having problems with building these types of systems. So we're very careful about that. Actually, you probably have more mosquitoes breeding in the gutters along the houses across the street than you will in this system. So
it's interesting. Yeah. So get rid of your gutters.
No,
build a rain garden.
Clean your gutters. Clean your gutters.
Clean your gutters.
That's the answer.
So this is great. Now, you mentioned some of the other projects that you've done in town. Let's talk about them. And I think each one, if you can remember off the top of your head, has some interesting functions or things that are going on, like
Well, we started in Kennedy Park, and we have actually 3 rain gardens in Kennedy Park. And Kennedy Park was a very wet area, so we actually put in some rain gardens, and it's actually dried up the area a little bit because now they absorb a lot of the water, so people don't have to walk through all the mud and everything now. One rain garden we built actually really is right next to the basketball court, so instead of actually putting a rain garden in, we just put a depression in with turf grass, kind of made it a grass rain garden, so the kids wouldn't be trampling through the plants. Those rain gardens actually have a lot of stone around them, because we're always worried about when towns hire summer help to do mowing and things like that they're going to mow right through the garden. So we find that the summer help tends not to want to hit stones with their mower because they know they'll get in trouble for that. So they typically avoid that, and that's a great way to keep them out of the gardens. So that's a really nice one. The other one that I really like is the one on Fulton Street. Yeah, so that's just, it's great, and it's taken exactly what we want with road runoff. It's got a cell where it comes off the top and it kind of goes down and is tiered. It's just a beautiful garden, and we were out there the other day, and there's these rose mallows there, these beautiful flowers. We were amazed on how beautiful the plants were coming up, and a lot of it has to do with the township. When we first plant, the township comes out and waters and makes sure the stuff gets established. Now, after the first year, you never really have to water these, but to get it established, you really have to take care of it. And you can see the guys were taking great care of this all along. So just a great job,
George Brew, who's the director of DPW, he was, before he became director, he was on our green infrastructure team.
Right.
And he is passionate about the rain gardens, and he spreads that to all the people who work with him. And it's really, really a beautiful thing to see. You go out there and you see the guys working, and they're all happy. They're enjoying this.
Right.
And we're also starting to get some volunteers.
Yeah, that's great.
The Scouts, do you remember which
Yeah,
garden
the Boy Scouts
helped?
I think they helped at Ford's Library, maybe. I think that's where they were helping. Did a great job there too. That was a wonderful garden. What's nice about the public works guys, though, it's really funny because a lot of these guys have no idea what they're helping us build, and they start digging the hole out, and as we're building it, we start realizing that that oh, I get it, it's a garden, and then they get excited about it, and then they take ownership of it. Then they start trying to move it around a little bit, so it's a little bit easier to mow later on around it. So that's really pretty cool. But what winds up happening is usually we get calls afterwards saying, hey, we've got another flooding problem in town. We're thinking we could put a rain garden there. And this is funny because many of these guys had no idea what a rain garden was 2 years ago, and now it's a tool in their toolbox to fix flooding issues. So that's what our goal is, to really get people thinking about that. And these guys are so good at building these, and they're very creative. When we have an awkward way of trying to get water from the road into the garden, they were designing something on this fly to build it. Just a fantastic group of people. We really have a lot of fun. My staff loves coming here and working. So it's really nice.
That's terrific. So I think we have to wrap it up. And this was really a great discussion. And you're doing so much, we might have to do this a year from now, because a year from now, and I'm just giving this as a little teaser, we're going to be doing a complete street, which is a whole new concept that we're all very excited about. So thank you both for being here and for all the time that you give us. And thank you, everybody, for watching Greenable Woodbridge and being part of the change and the excitement. Thank you.